Have you ever felt someone slowly pulling away from you, without a warning, without a conversation, without even a final moment of honesty? It starts with delayed replies, short answers, less eye contact, a sudden shift in energy you can't quite explain. And before you know it, someone who used to feel close now feels like a stranger standing in the same room. Most people don't talk about this kind of distance, the silent kind, the kind that leaves you wondering what you did wrong, the kind that keeps you awake replaying conversations, analyzing tone, dissecting every tiny detail, hoping to find the moment everything changed. But here's the truth most of us forget. People rarely distance themselves because of one thing you said. Most of the time, it has far more to do with their inner world than with your worth. Stoic philosophy teaches us a powerful idea. We don't control how people feel, think, or choose to show up, only how we respond. And when someone drifts away, the worst thing you can do is blame yourself for a story you don't fully know. In today's video, we're going to explore 7 deep, psychological, and often invisible reasons why people distance themselves from you without saying why. Reasons rooted in insecurity, shifting values, emotional weight, and the quiet battles they never tell you about. Stay with me to the end, because understanding these truths won't just protect your peace, it will change how you see people and how you see yourself. 1. Their insecurity feels exposed around you. One of the quietest, most invisible reasons people distance themselves is this. Being around you makes them confront parts of themselves they've been avoiding for years. Not because you point those things out, not because you judge them, but because your presence unintentionally becomes a mirror that reflects the gap between who they are and who they wish they could be. Insecurity works in subtle ways. People rarely say, "Being near you makes me uncomfortable because you're disciplined, focused, or emotionally calm." They don't have that level of self-awareness. Instead, what they feel is a vague discomfort, a tightening, a comparison they never asked for, a sense that they fall short in areas where you're growing. Their mind connects that feeling with you, not with themselves. And the easiest way to escape the discomfort isn't to rise to your level. It's to step back. Think about it. When you take care of yourself, your health, your habits, your boundaries, it silently challenges those who haven't done the same. If you're consistent while they procrastinate, if you're grounded while they react impulsively, if you respect yourself while they tolerate disrespect, the contrast quietly stings. Not because you caused it, but because they recognize the work they haven't done. Maybe you started healing. They didn't. Maybe you set boundaries. They never learned how. Maybe you grew emotionally. They stayed the same. And even though you never compared yourself to them, they compare themselves to you. Not out loud, not consciously, but enough to feel a shift inside. And when insecurity grows, people often withdraw rather than communicate. They shorten conversations, they offer excuses, they stop initiating, they fade out gently, hoping distance will protect their ego from feeling inadequate. Stoic philosophy explains this dynamic beautifully. Seneca wrote that people suffer more in their imagination than in real life. Insecurity is exactly that. A story created inside their mind. One where they believe you're thinking of them the way they secretly think of themselves. You might see them with compassion or neutrality, but insecurity interprets your confidence as judgment, your calmness as superiority, your progress as pressure. Here's the part most people misunderstand. Their reaction has very little to do with you. Their emotional wounds, their self-doubt, their unhealed patterns, those are things outside your control. And trying to shrink yourself so others don't feel insecure doesn't help anyone. It only teaches you to betray your own growth. So what should you do when someone distances themselves because your presence awakens their insecurity? You don't chase. You don't over-explain. You don't dim your strength to make them more comfortable. You maintain compassion, but you also maintain boundaries. Let them choose the distance they need. You choose the peace you deserve. Because the truth is simple, when your growth triggers someone, they either grow with you or grow away from you. And either outcome is clarity. You're not responsible for managing their insecurity. You're responsible for honoring your own evolution. And sometimes, the distance they create is not rejection. It's just proof that you kept moving while they stayed still. 2, you have strong boundaries, and they can't manipulate you. There's a particular kind of distance that appears the moment you stop being easy to sway, easy to guilt, or easy to control. Not because you became cold, but because you finally learned the difference between being kind and being available to everything. When you begin to honor your own boundaries, some people, especially those who benefited from the lack of them, start to pull away. Most people don't know how to be in relationships where no is respected, where emotional pressure doesn't work, or where someone doesn't automatically give in for the sake of peace. If they were used to you overextending yourself, saying yes when you meant no, or carrying more than your share, your new boundaries feel like a threat, not a natural part of healthy connection. Psychologically, boundaries do something simple and powerful. They remove the loopholes others relied on. If someone used guilt to get your attention, they suddenly can't. If someone pushed your limits, you actually push back now. If someone expected you to be endlessly patient with their patterns, they realize that season of your life is over. And rather than adjusting, many choose distance. Think of the people who used to depend on your silence when they interrupted you, your silence when they crossed a line, your silence when they took more than they ever gave. When that silence becomes a boundary, they lose access to the version of you that made their life easier, the version of you that tolerated what should never have been tolerated, the version of you that swallowed discomfort so they didn't have to confront their own behavior. Stoic philosophy reminds us, you cannot control what others demand, only what you permit. And once you stop permitting certain behaviors, people reveal who they really are. Those who value you will adapt, communicate, and respect the space you create. Those who only valued the convenience you provided will drift away. The painful part is that boundary-based distance rarely looks dramatic. It looks subtle, unanswered messages, passive-aggressive remarks, less interest, less warmth. Not because you wronged them, but because you stopped playing the role they assigned you. And here's the deeper truth. Their discomfort with your boundaries is not your responsibility. You don't owe anyone unlimited access to your time, energy, or emotional capacity. You don't owe explanations for protecting your peace. You don't owe justification for stepping back from dynamics that drained you. So what do you do when someone distances themselves because of your boundaries? First, stay steady. Don't soften your boundaries out of fear of losing them. Second, notice the pattern. People who truly care will respect limits, not punish them. Third, practice calm detachment. You can care about someone's feelings without sacrificing your standards. And finally, remind yourself, any connection that only survives when you betray yourself is not a connection worth keeping. Boundaries don't push the right people away. They push the wrong people out. And if someone pulls back because they can no longer manipulate, guilt, or overuse you, the distance isn't a loss. It's alignment. 3. Your growth threatens the version of you. They were comfortable with one of the most painful realities of adulthood is this. People don't just drift away because you changed. They drift away because your growth disrupts the version of you they depended on, benefited from, or felt comfortable standing beside. Humans form attachments not to who you truly are, but to who you were when they met you. Your patterns, your emotional capacity, your level of confidence, and the boundaries you had back then. When those things begin to shift, the relationship shifts too. It's not that your growth is wrong. It's that your evolution forces them to confront their lack of it. Some people liked you best when you were uncertain, apologetic, overly accommodating, or unsure of your own worth. They felt safe when you doubted yourself because it made them feel ahead. They felt close to you when you were struggling because it made them feel needed. They felt bonded to you when you made yourself small because it protected them from examining why they stayed small. But once you start healing, improving, focusing, or building a life with intention, something subtle happens. The dynamic that once worked for them doesn't work anymore. Your confidence makes them uncomfortable. Your progress highlights their stagnation. Your clarity reveals their confusion. Your strength exposes their excuses. Instead of rising with you, many people take the easier route. They step back. Think of the friend who loved hanging out when you were always available, but now resents you for prioritizing your goals. Or the co-worker who enjoyed competing with the old you, but now avoids you because they can't keep up. Or the family member who preferred you when you were emotionally dependent, but now pulls away because your independence disrupts their role in your life. This distancing isn't always malicious. Often, it's unconscious. People don't say, "Your success intimidates me," or "Your healing makes me face things I'm not ready for." Instead, they say you've changed, you're different, you're distant, you're not the same anymore. But what they really mean is this: I don't know how to relate to this stronger version of you. Stoic philosophy teaches that growth is not something to apologize for. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "What stands in the way becomes the way." Your evolution, your discipline, your emotional maturity, your willingness to confront yourself, is the very path you're meant to take. You're not obligated to remain the earlier version of yourself for anyone else's comfort. And here's the part that requires emotional maturity. You cannot control who grows with you and who grows away from you. You can communicate with kindness. You can stay grounded. You can remain open-hearted, but you cannot force someone to evolve alongside you. Their journey is theirs. So how do you respond when someone distances themselves because your growth disrupts the old dynamic? You honor their discomfort without internalizing it. You stay consistent with your progress. You stop shrinking to fit their memory of you. You let the relationship take the shape it naturally chooses. Because relationships built on your old wounds rarely survive your healing. And if someone steps back because the healed, disciplined, focused version of you no longer fits their narrative, let the distance stand. Your growth isn't costing you people. Your growth is revealing who is aligned with your past and who is capable of meeting your future. For they feel judged, even when you say nothing. One of the most misunderstood reasons people distance themselves is this: your silence, your calmness, or your way of living makes them assume you're judging them, even when you aren't thinking about them at all. It's not that you said something hurtful. It's not that you made them feel inferior. It's that they carry an internal narrative that interprets your neutrality as a valuation. Many people walk through life with a loud inner critic. They judge themselves, so they assume others are judging them too. They feel inadequate, so they assume others see them as inadequate. They project their own insecurities into the quiet spaces between your words. And when someone is already battling their internal dialogue, even your presence can feel like pressure. It often happens when you make healthier choices. Perhaps you take your responsibilities seriously, and they don't. You prioritize your mental and physical well-being while they continue habits they're not proud of. You treat people with respect and honesty while they cut corners or act in ways that create guilt inside them. None of this means you're judging them, but it highlights behavior they haven't yet confronted. Think of the friend who stops inviting you out because you've stopped partying the way you used to. They tell themselves you're looking down on them, even if you aren't. Think of the co-worker who avoids sharing their struggles because they assume you see their chaos as weakness. Or the family member who becomes defensive around you simply because your calmness makes their unresolved issues feel louder. This is projection, an emotional defense mechanism where people transfer their self-judgment onto you. Stoic philosophy understood this well. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If someone thinks ill of you, the problem is with their judgment, not yours." In other words, people respond to the stories in their mind, not the reality in front of them. And here's the crucial part. You cannot control the stories people create about your intentions. You can speak with kindness, but you cannot erase their insecurity. You can offer support, but you cannot heal wounds they won't acknowledge. You can show compassion, but you cannot rewrite the narrative they built long before you entered the picture. So what do you do when someone distances themselves because they feel judged, even though you never judged them? First, remind yourself that their interpretation is outside your control. You can clarify if needed, but you cannot convince someone to see themselves differently until they're ready. Second, stay grounded in your values. Don't dilute your peace, discipline, or clarity just to make someone else comfortable. If your presence triggers their conscience, that discomfort belongs to them, not you. Third, practice compassionate detachment. You can care about their struggle without absorbing their assumptions. You can stay open-hearted without taking responsibility for their projections. And you can allow space without abandoning your boundaries. The distance they create is not a sign that you did something wrong. It's a sign that they are wrestling with themselves, not with you. Sometimes your growth, your stability, or your neutrality becomes a mirror, and some people aren't ready to look. That's not rejection, that's simply where they are on their journey. Your role is not to shrink your light to avoid triggering their shadow. Your role is to stay sincere, stay grounded, and stay true. 5. They're carrying emotional weight. You know nothing about one of the kindest yet hardest truths to accept is this. Sometimes people distance themselves not because of you, but because of the heavy emotional weight they're carrying silently. Life burdens people in ways they never speak about. Stress, trauma, exhaustion, shame, financial pressure, burnout, family problems. These things don't always show on the surface. And when someone feels overwhelmed by their internal world, they often withdraw from their external one. Many adults weren't taught how to communicate pain. They were taught to hide it, minimize it, or pretend everything is fine. So instead of saying, "I'm struggling," they disappear. Instead of asking for support, they isolate. Instead of opening up, they shut down. And even if you've done nothing wrong, you may still feel the impact of their withdrawal. Think of the friend who suddenly pulls back when life becomes too heavy. They cancel plans, take longer to reply, seem distant for reasons you can't identify. Not because they stopped valuing you, but because they don't have the emotional capacity to show up. Think of the co-worker who becomes quieter and less engaged, not out of coldness, but because their mental load is drowning them. Or the family member who becomes inconsistent, not because they lost interest in you, but because they're barely holding themselves together. Emotional overload changes behavior, and when someone is overwhelmed, social connection, no matter how positive, can feel like one more responsibility they can't manage. Stoic philosophy gives us clarity here. Epictetus taught that what happens to others is not something we control. What we control is how we interpret it. When someone withdraws, we often make it personal. Did I do something wrong? Are they upset with me? Did the relationship change? But often, the truth has nothing to do with us. They are fighting an internal battle they simply don't have the words or the strength to explain. This doesn't mean you accept unhealthy behavior or allow people to come and go without accountability. But it does mean approaching distance with understanding rather than immediate self-blame. Not every silence is rejection. Sometimes silence is survival. So how should you respond when someone withdraws because they're carrying emotional weight? First, create space without resentment. Let them take the time they need without assuming the worst. Space doesn't always mean disconnection. It can mean recovery. Second, don't pry or pressure. If someone is already overwhelmed, being asked to explain themselves can feel like another burden. Instead, offer simple openness. I'm here whenever you're ready. Third, maintain your own center. Their emotional storm is not your responsibility to fix. Compassion does not require self-abandonment. Care does not require sacrificing your well-being. And finally, keep perspective. People distance themselves for reasons rooted in their own lives, histories, wounds, and pressures. You see only the behavior, you rarely see the battle. This reason is the hardest because it requires emotional maturity, the ability to hold both compassion and boundaries at the same time. To allow someone space without absorbing their silence as a reflection of your worth. To care without carrying. Some distances aren't personal. Some silences aren't rejection. Some withdrawals aren't abandonment. Sometimes people step back simply because they're drowning, and they don't want to pull you under with them. 6. The dynamic was always one-sided, and now you stopped carrying it. There's a specific kind of distance that reveals itself the moment you stop being the one who holds everything together. For a long time, the relationship seemed stable. Conversations flowed because you initiated them. Plans happened because you organized them. Emotional connection existed because you invested in it. But the moment you stopped carrying the entire weight, something became unmistakably clear. It was one-sided all along. People rarely admit when they've been benefiting from your effort more than giving to it. They don't say, "I only stayed connected because you made it effortless." They don't say, "I liked the relationship more when you did the emotional lifting." Instead, they quietly fade when the source of effort disappears. Not because they're angry, but because they were never truly participating in the first place. This happens in friendships, family relationships, dating, even work. When you stop texting first, the conversation dies. When you stop making plans, the connection crumbles. When you stop giving emotional reassurance, the relationship suddenly feels cold. That's not coincidence. That's exposure. It reveals the truth. You weren't both contributing, you were compensating. Psychologically, this shift is uncomfortable for people who relied on your consistency. They were used to your follow-ups, your reminders, your generosity. It made their life easier. And when you step back, not out of spite, but out of emotional responsibility, they experience something foreign, the responsibility to put in actual effort. For some, that's too much. Avoidance becomes easier than accountability. Stoic philosophy reminds us that clarity is a gift, even when it hurts. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Pay attention to what people do, not what they say." When your effort stops and they vanish, you have your answer. Their behavior, absence, silence, disinterest is the information you needed, even if it's painful. And here's the deeper truth. Pulling back wasn't punishment, it was balance. You simply returned the dynamic to what it always should have been: mutual, equal, shared. Two people choosing, not one person compensating. So how do you respond when someone distances themselves after you stop carrying the relationship? First, don't rush to overfunction again. People who only show up when you do all the work are not disappearing. You're just seeing them clearly for the first time. Second, resist the guilt narrative. You didn't ruin anything by stepping back. Healthy relationships survive balance. Only imbalanced ones collapse under it. Third, stay open-hearted but self-respecting. You can care about someone while no longer over-investing. You can still be kind while no longer being the glue. You can still value the connection while refusing to carry it alone. And finally, embrace the clarity the distance provides. It's better to see the truth than to live in an illusion of closeness built on your labor. Because a relationship that only lives when you overextend isn't closeness, it's dependency. And the moment you reclaim your energy, people who never intended to meet you halfway naturally drift away. Their distance is not a loss. It is the end of an imbalance you are no longer willing to sustain. And sometimes the most honest thing someone can show you is their absence when they are no longer benefiting from your effort. 7. They've outgrown you. And that's okay. There's a kind of distance that isn't rooted in insecurity, conflict, or misunderstanding. It's simply the quiet truth that people grow in different directions, and sometimes their evolution naturally moves them away from you. Not out of anger, not out of rejection, not out of disappointment, but because their path is leading them somewhere. Your path is not. We often talk about the pain of being left behind, but we rarely talk about the emotional maturity it takes to accept that sometimes you're not being abandoned. You're simply no longer aligned. Human beings evolve through experiences, environments, values, and inner shifts. And as people change, the relationships around them change too. A friend who once felt like home may no longer share the same priorities. A co-worker who used to confide in you might now be entering a season that demands their full focus. A family member who was once deeply involved may now be pursuing healing, independence, or new emotional boundaries of their own. These changes are not indictments of your worth, they're reflections of their journey. Psychologically, this is natural. Bonding is contextual. People are drawn to those who match their current state, their mindset, their pace of life, their emotional bandwidth. When someone outgrows a dynamic, it doesn't mean you did something wrong. It means life expanded in a direction that requires different relationships, different support, or a different identity. Think of the friend who became a parent and now prioritizes stability. The friend who started healing and no longer bonds through shared pain. The friend whose ambitions skyrocketed and now spends time in circles that challenge them. None of these shifts are betrayals. They're transitions. Their distance is rarely personal. It's often a natural byproduct of growth. Stoicism teaches us to accept change with grace, not resistance. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Accept whatever comes to you, woven in the pattern of your destiny." People entering and leaving our lives are part of that pattern. The Stoics understood that clinging creates suffering. Flowing with what life removes and adds creates peace. But here's the part people struggle with. We tend to interpret distance as a reflection of our inadequacy. We tell ourselves stories. I'm not important anymore. I'm being replaced. I wasn't enough. These narratives aren't truth. They're fear. And fear misinterprets change as rejection. So how do you respond when someone distances themselves because they've grown into a different season of life? First, honor the reality without creating a story. People can love you and still move forward in a direction that doesn't include you as closely as before. Second, practice gratitude instead of resentment. Not every relationship is meant to last forever. Some were meant to support a chapter, not the entire book. Third, release the urge to chase or pull them back. If they're meant to stay connected, the relationship will recalibrate naturally. If not, holding on tightly only creates unnecessary tension. Fourth, focus on your own evolution. Sometimes the distance is a signal. It's your turn to grow next. The truth is simple. People don't always drift away because something went wrong. Sometimes they drift because life called them somewhere new. And instead of resisting that truth, the Stoic path is accepting it with grace, dignity, and an open heart. Their distance is not an ending. It's a transition, a realignment, a quiet reminder that growth, in all its forms, creates space. And space is not something to fear. It's something to understand. When you look at all these reasons together, a pattern begins to emerge. A pattern most people never notice because they're too busy blaming themselves for someone else's silence. The truth is, distance isn't always about conflict. It isn't always about mistakes. And it definitely isn't always about you not being enough. More often, it reflects the inner world of the other person, their fears, their growth, their emotional weight, their unspoken insecurities, their shifting priorities. And once you understand this, something powerful happens. You stop taking every withdrawal personally. You stop carrying the responsibility for someone else's emotional landscape. And you begin to see distance not as a threat, but as information. Stoicism teaches us that our peace comes from responding with clarity, not reacting with fear. And now that you understand why people pull away quietly, it's time to talk about what you can do, how to protect your inner world, how to stay grounded, and how to navigate distance with strength and dignity. Let's move into the tools, the part that changes everything. When someone distances themselves, your mind naturally fills the silence with self-blame. Did I do something wrong? Did I miss a sign? Was I not good enough? But once you peel back the layers, you realize something freeing. Most distancing begins inside them, not inside you. Insecurity, shifting values, emotional burnout, one-sided effort, inner narratives, personal evolution. These forces shape people's behavior far more than anything you said or did. And this brings us to the heart of the Stoic approach. Epictetus taught that peace comes from focusing only on what you control. You cannot control someone's wounds. You cannot control their readiness. You cannot control the stories they tell themselves about your life, your growth, or your silence. But you can control how you interpret their distance and how you choose to respond. So here are 3 powerful applications to carry forward. 1. Don't personalize what isn't personal. Distance is often a mirror of their internal struggle, not your inadequacy. The next time someone fades out, pause and ask, is this about me, or is this about where they are in their life? Most of the time, the truth is gentle. It's about them. 2. Maintain calm boundaries. Don't chase. Don't over-explain. Don't try to convince someone to stay who has already stepped back. Real relationships survive honesty and distance. One-sided ones don't. Let their behavior show you what role they're meant to play in your life. 3. Accept realignment with grace. People come and go as they grow. You don't have to resist every transition. You don't have to hold on to every bond. Some people were meant for a chapter, not the whole story. And allowing them to move on without bitterness is emotional strength, not weakness. In the end, distance doesn't diminish your value. It reveals the truth. It shows you who can stand beside the person you're becoming and who belongs to the version of you that you've already outgrown. And the more you honor these truths, the quieter, stronger, and more centered your life becomes. Exactly the kind of life the Stoics believed we are capable of living. If you've made it this far, let me say this. It takes real emotional maturity to look at distance not with fear, but with understanding. Most people only see what's missing. You chose to see what it means, and that already sets you apart. Remember this truth as you leave today. People's actions are chapters in their own story, not definitions of your worth. Some will stay, some will drift, some will return. Some will walk their path quietly and never explain why. But your peace cannot depend on who comes or goes. It can only depend on how you choose to show up, with clarity, dignity, and self-respect. Thank you for spending your time with me today. If this message brought you comfort or clarity, let me know in the comments which part resonated most. And if you want more Stoic guidance like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Stay steady, stay awake, and stay true to who you're becoming.